Hello, my name is Siân Melangell Dafydd and I'm a poet and author living in North Wales near Bala and Bala Lake and the Berwyn Mountains. I'm also sort of a chink in the chain of Poetry Connections, a project organised by Literature Across Frontiers over many years, but specifically in 2007, this project I want to speak about today, I was lucky enough to work with a Kerala-based poet called Anitha Thampi. And we had met and started working with each other, exchanging translations and new work back in 2011 in the HNY International Festival in Kerala. So we had this opportunity to build on an existing relationship. And the project came along for Poetry Connections and arranged with Wales Arts International and the British Council to celebrate the anniversary of Indian independence. So there were lots of different projects happening during this auspicious year, you could say. So Anitha and I sat down knowing that we had a lot of good work that we had been wanting to get our teeth into. And we decided not to address that auspicious year and the celebration and the historical content directly. We decided to keep on layering our cultures and our discussions and our translations one on top of each other to keep the conversation going and to let that do its own good work. We had faith, I think, that by doing that we would expose things about our own cultures as well as find out things about the other's culture. And what's happened, I think, as a result is that there's something very organic. It gives me great pleasure to see that one of Anita's poems is up on the wall in a local venue in Bala, and people talk about the Malayalam language and the poem. Children come up to me still remembering her visit and my visit to local schools. So this has had really interesting impact in community roots. So I'd like to read some of the poems that came from that project. I'll start with a poem that I wrote to Anita's mother. So we were living with each other during this process. Anitha came to live with me in the Bala area and I went to live with her in Trivandrum. And that's what made this project really special, because often with translation projects, we are all taken out of our square mile, out of our natural area and roots. And so we really got to see how we operated in our daily lives. And that was the most valuable thing for me. And I wrote a poem here for Anita's mother, a woman who had a huge impact on me, but with whom I could not converse. Cyllell ama. Cyllell mam yw sŵn y bwystfilod yn dod o'r goedwig. Cyllell mam yw crochan lawn. Y mell di'r trannau, ei chyllell yw llafn ei chorff. Dir yw ei dewis, brychni hen oed ar ei llafn, carn pren a goglen ionod. Cyllell a grefftwyd a llaw a than yn rhy bell yn ôl I neb gofio'n iawn, gan ryw of a fe farw fel fflach ar ôl llafurio'r llafn fel ymynau. O siop nad ydio'n bodoli mwyach, gan ddyn ffôl, a werthodd y peth ola da oedd ganddo erioed a difaru. Dir yw arf dewisol y ddynes daclus ar stôl y gegin. Gwisga hi wyniadur ar un bys. Hacio, ystym ffistio gwenydd, gilotin grefft. Hollti air arogl dail cyrru gan boeni am iechyd y cathod gwyllt, iechyd y goeden bu'n afal a blanodd o stwmpyn ffrwyth. Am sychu'r dillad, y lleithder. Dawr llafn I lawr, ar ddarnol y siein y byd, moronyn, tiwbr troed eliffant, gowrd nadreddog, gowrd chwerw, nes I ddieithryn holi am y pant yn y min. Mae bol y byd yn tyfu I ganol y gyllell. Ail siapio'r llafn, yn farc o fywyd, un cic ar y tro. Dros swper ei bysedd yn fudur o fwyd, daw stori'r hen gyfaill gan y ddynes grom. Bydd bol y byd yn tyfu i'r gyllell. Yn tyfu i'r gyllell, ac erbyn diwedd dyddiau ama, dim ond y byd fydd ar ôl, a'r gyllell wedi treulio yn ddim. So therefore my Welsh language response to this gentle Malayalam lady who cooked meals for me that I cannot even tell you how incredible they were, and whose daily exchanges with me were so full of smiles and joy, and this is the only thing I can do in response. Now a translation into English. Amma's knife. Mother's knife is the sound of beasts coming out of the forest. Mother's knife is a full cauldron, lighting to thunder. Her knife is her body's blade. Steel is her choice, with old age freckles, a handle made of wood and onion smells. A knife formed from a hand and fire, too long ago now for anybody to really remember, by an old ironmonger who died in a flash after labouring this blade just as he wanted it. From a shop that doesn't exist anymore, from a foolish shopkeeper who sold the last good thing he had and regretted it. Steel is her weapon, this tidy woman on a kitchen stool. She wears a thimble on one hand. Hacks. It is wheat fisting, guillotine graft. She splits air full of curry leaves, worries about the health of wild cats, the health of a pineapple tree planted from a fruit stump, about drying the linen despite the damp air. The blade descends on a piece of vegetable, carrot, elephant tuber, snake gourd, bitter gourd, until a stranger asks about the hollow in the blade. The world's belly is in it, imprinted, a mark of life, one kick at a time. It bellies into the knife. Over dinner, with her fingers dirty with food, a story comes of her, this rounded woman, about her old friend, the knife. The world's belly will grow into it, this knife, and by the end of Amma's days, only the world will be left, the knife worn to nothing. So it's worth noting that I was 5 or 6 months pregnant when I was visiting Anitha in Kerala, and I think it definitely had an impact on the pace with which I was able to observe life there. There was such a slowness and possibly an increased ability to see the grain of daily life, and that is what took my interest, the daily habits, the borderlands, what grew on the sides of the roads, the nature of human exchange, meeting points, and by contrast then I had a really interesting increased interest in what creates borders in my own community, the dry stone walls, the way we bend our hedges made with trees. So thanks to this exchange, there's a sort of refreshing understanding of home. So from the domestic to a crisis, I realized that perhaps there was a responsibility to deal with the social and the political, and I was nervous about whether I was doing it, whether I was doing justice to this auspicious year. But I was returning to the grain of the daily life, and I do think that that responds to the larger things in the world. This is pregnant in Connemara Fish Market, Trivandrum. All the fish in me are tired. Not bone tired, not easy tired, not body tired, a bright kind of tired that comes with summer heat and the body's need to skulk in the shadows. A kind of tired that always predicts a shift in climate. Eye-swimming tired, which lets me feel the waves inside as they smash against my outsides. So many sleeping fish, a body full of dams, blocked water, swollen lakes, feet not fit for walking. In Connemara, women with squid ink eyes line the gaping temple. She might know, like water, what it's like, this humid sleep, how to balance hope with patience. I look to her fish hook back for answers, but her body is slippery. Too many tourists look at her pyramid of darling fish. Onward, her tongue goes, cool plopping of words. Maybe she means, buy this. Would you buy this fish here? Slivers of silver, symmetrical on a plantain leaf, Smothered sand between each body makes them cling, belly to belly to belly. These fish, asleep with their eyes wide open. Would you buy these? Kingfish, sardines, look to her knees. Rock ice and fish bodies caked into a cast iron bin. It leaks along the path of feet and fish scale. Seerfish, milkfish. The colour of fish blood is mine. Draws out the woman's song, draws out the mad dogs on the crest of the walls, gulls, broken coconuts, belly buttons, all with their tongues to the hollering taste of river and sea. It leaks underneath the gravity of this woman's singing, which is an undersong, story of falling rain, story of the deep belly where children are fished daily, story of their brilliant skins. They rise to the light and fall again. Dried fish, riba, paraffin lamps light the rose. We stay in the shallows, we stay in the fish exhibits, we stay with women showing us their wet fingers. Her hand rises, bright palm and dark knuckles. She slices the gill of one with something silver, but I stop looking halfway when the gill is whole and mouthing. All the fish in me are so tired. So to end, I want to show this little plant to you. One day, Anitha and I were walking down a dusty red street in Kerala, and she pointed to the verge and this kind of plant that was growing there in the wild, really, not in a pot plant. This is called a touch-me-not. Not a forget-me-not, but touch-me-not. And it's sensitive to touch, so if I touch it, the leaves will shrink away. And I now have this plant on my desk, and what has happened since 2007 is, for all of us, and I think I can certainly speak for Anitha and I, there's urgent, renewed or revitalized urgency, sensitivity, like my little sensitive plant, to what is happening in the world, from the incredible floods that happened in Kerala to the political decisions and the virus in recent months, that we are asking ourselves as a group and together, collectively, what is our responsibility from the micro attention to the social commitment. And something big has shifted, and it's very difficult to identify where in the process of this poetry connection it happened. But it has happened, and the new work that's being created has shifted as well. Thank you.